story, you've developed your characters, you want to share your story with the world, but you just don't know what steps you have to take to actually get your work published. And whether you write novels, make comics, cookbooks, children's books, it doesn't matter, because my How to Get Published series will be able to help you. Hello my dears, I'm Lisbeth R. Jimenez. I'm a published American mangaka, and this means that I create manga for a living, and my work is published and available in stores like Barnes & Nobles and Amazon. I created this channel to help you guys reach your dreams of becoming published authors by posting up videos on how to draw, how to make your own manga and comics, how to get published videos, and fun, nerdy vlogs about my life as a published author here in America. And if you're interested in watching any of the videos that you just saw clips of, I have links to all of them in the descriptions below. How to Get Published videos have been so highly requested by you guys that I just could not wait to create this for you. However, like I warned you in a previous video, this is going to be a multi-episode series because there is a lot of information that you should know before you actually submit your work to publishers. It's a sort of straightforward process, but there is a lot of information, and I noticed that a lot of videos that talk about how to get published overlook a lot of crucial information. Information that if you don't know will actually lower your chances of getting published. So that's why I decided this really needed at least 2 or 3 episodes to really help you guys better your chances of getting published and allowing a publisher to really see that your work is something that they want to publish. So before we get started, I just wanted to point out a few things so that you get the most out of this video. 1, this video can be used for people who write novels, comics, cookbooks, children's books, and all of that. However, if you're looking to self-publish, this video is not for you. This current series is for people who want to submit their work to publishers. But do not worry, I will be creating a separate series of how to self-publish. So please be sure to subscribe so you do not miss that video. But if you're not sure whether you want to be traditionally published and submit your work to a publisher or self-publish, I recommend that you watch my little pros and cons traditional publishing versus self-publishing video so that you can make a well-informed decision for you and your future. And before we get started, please remember, if you find this video useful or helpful in any way, I would really appreciate you giving it a big thumbs up, because I'm going to put a lot of work into this series, and every thumbs up is a lot of encouragement for me and lets me know that I'm actually helping you guys. And also do not forget to subscribe so that you will not miss part 2 and 3 of this series. This How to Get Published series will be a multi-part series covering how to find a publisher, how to increase your chances of getting published, what is a submission process like, and what you'll need to send the publishers when you pitch your story to them. Of course, the submission process and what you'll send in will differ greatly between novels, cookbooks, and mangas. So I will be creating different videos for different types of publications. I hope you're excited about all that information, guys. So let's get started. So step number 1 is keeping the copyrights to your work. Super important to you. The reason why I'm bringing up is keeping the copyrights to your work important to you is because many publishers actually own the copyrights to the work and the stories that they publish. And many publishers actually keep the copyrights to your work on upwards of 65 years after your death. Which means if they fired you, there's a really good chance that they can just hire someone else to finish your work, which has happened to a number of artists in the past. It also means that if the publishers went out of business, you will not regain the copyrights to your work. They will actually keep the copyrights to your work and could probably sell it to another publisher. I know it sounds really scary. These things are super, super rare, but they do happen, and it's something to keep in mind when looking for a publisher. Nowadays, thankfully, there are more and more publishers that do not keep the copyrights to your work, and their contracts are far more lenient and respectful towards you, the creator. So this is something to keep in mind when looking for a publisher. This is something a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to submitting to a publisher, but nowadays I think more and more people are beginning to understand what it means to actually own the copyrights to their intellectual property. And for those of you who have watched my How to Copyright video, you already know that intellectual property means property you created with your intellect, which means things you made up. So if you created the story, the characters, the environment, all that stuff, that's your intellectual property, and those are the things that copyrighting your work will help protect. Step number 2, you need to understand who your story is aimed at. Who is the audience? What is their demographic? What gender are they? How old are they? You need to understand these things before submitting to a publisher. And this is the key reason. Imagine you've created a romance novel. A romance novel that was really, really erotic would not suit the demographic for a publisher like Scholastics, which basically is tailored to, elementary school children. And you'd be surprised how many people get rejected, not because their work wasn't good, but because they did not understand the audience of the publishers. True story. So this goes right into step number 3, actually looking for a publisher that suits the audience that basically your story is made for. So I know this sounds a lot harder than it is, but I'm going to tell you it's super easy, and this is how you do it. Go to a bookstore. Remember, every bookstore has aisles dedicated to cookbooks or fantasy, and if you created a fantasy or a romance novel or a fantasy romance novel, you will be able to find similar titles, or at least books that are of a similar genre, in a bookstore. Simply go to the aisle that your book would be placed at if it were sold in stores. So if it's an adult erotica, go to the adult erotica aisle. If it's a teen romance, go to the teen romance aisle. If it is a cookbook on Asian cuisine, go to the Asian cuisine aisle. This is basically how it works. Go to the aisle that fits your story, pick up a book, and look for the publisher. The publisher will always be somewhere on the spine, maybe even the front cover, or you can go to the copyright page and there's the name of the publisher and even their mailing address as well as their website URL. This is the information you want. Now the next step is to increase your chances by understanding and examining other titles published by the publisher that you are considering. The reason why this is so important is not to see how you stack up against the existing published books by this publisher, but to see if the market is saturated with stories that are too similar to yours. After the success of Twilight, there was a big wave of vampire romance novels, and unfortunately those who wrote vampire romance novels years before Twilight became a humongous hit, they're not getting published as much because the market was too saturated with stories about vampires and romance. So you want to see if the publisher already has titles that are too close to yours, or they have a small amount of titles that are similar to yours that were very successful. If they were very successful, there's a very good chance that they might want to take on another title that covers something similar because, well, they want to make more money. But they may also reject your story because they've already had enough stories that cover a similar topic. But unless you examine existing titles by this publisher, you will not know what your chances are. And on top of that, by examining other existing titles by the publisher you're considering, you also see if it's a good fit. Sometimes you might want to submit to a publisher and realize they don't really have any work that looks like yours or sounds like yours, maybe that's just not the right publisher for you. Like if you created comics that were more of a manga style and tried to submit it to like DC Comics, there's a really good chance that you will not be accepted because that's simply not their forte and it's not the look that they're looking for, you understand? So these are really, really important things to keep in mind when searching for a publisher. This is something that you should dedicate a very good amount of time to researching because this is your future, this is your career and the future of your story. These are things that you really want to keep in mind. You really want to do your research and try to dedicate a few weeks or even a couple months to really doing this research because the last thing you want to do is waste your time submitting to publishers that you really had very little to no chance of being accepted by. So take the time to do this research. These things take time and deserve your time and effort. So don't just jump the gun and just submit your work to the very first publisher you think of because I tell you right now, there's a good chance you'll be rejected and rejection is going to happen. It's extremely rare for people to be accepted by a publisher the very first time they submit their work. Those people are extremely lucky, right place at the right time. It was the right time for their type of story and that publisher may have actually been on the lookout for a story that fit that specific need. So it is extremely important to take your time and look for a publisher. There's one particular author that I actually got the pleasure of meeting that his work was rejected over 100 times. 100 times! Before he was finally accepted by a publisher. Sometimes being rejected doesn't mean that your work wasn't good. It may just not have been the right time to submit your work or you did not present your work in the submission process properly enough and didn't show off the great quality of your work enough. So really be persistent and continue to do it. And in my next installment of this series, I will show you guys what the submission process is for novels, cookbooks, comics, and manga. But like I said before, I'm going to dedicate a separate video for each type of publication because the submission process for each type of publication differs greatly from each other, which is pretty obvious because unlike a novel, something like a children's book or a comic is an actual, it's visual, there's words and there are pictures. But I'll go into more detail on that in a future video. So please guys, if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't so that you do not miss the next installment of this series. I have a lot of information to share with you guys and I know that you guys really want that information because you have been begging for it for the past 6+ months. And I'm going to give you what you want, guys. So do not forget to like and subscribe. It only takes a little moment, guys, and shows me that you appreciate the work that I put into my videos, and I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel as well. Remember, I upload videos every Thursday, so until next Thursday, guys, please take care, God bless, and do not be afraid to nerd out. Take care, guys, and good luck!